Hello, my friends. It is December 29th, I believe. So the year is getting ready to wrap up. And while I spent most of the year feeling like I was struggling with my creativity, as I'm getting ready to do this kind of wrap for the projects that I worked on, I'm discovering that I was actually quite productive. The first step is the big project that I began at the first of the year, which was to do a little mini collage every day for 365 days, and I didn't make it. I think the last day I did a collage was September 7th or thereabouts. September, yeah. And then I lost steam because of politics. I just really struggled with that. So I pivoted to other projects. And I worked on several things throughout the year. I've discovered that I made 5 personal journals. Oh, no, 7 personal journals, 2 of which were projects from years gone by. I'll show each of those individually. I made these, gonna move that out of the way, these little playing card things. I don't know what to call them, really. They were fun, but very challenging. Little accordion type things with flip outs. It was like putting together a puzzle, so it's pretty challenging to figure out how to get it all to work together. But I had these tiny little photographs, like photo booth photos. I had a collection of them, and they were just sitting in a box, and I thought, I'll use them. So I think this is the second one I did. Yes, this is the second one I did. The first one, I'm not going to fold it up. I'm just going to push it to the side. The first one was this red one. I can't remember. I was inspired by another content creator. I cannot remember. I'll try and find out and put it in the comment section below. But this was the first one that I did. And yeah, it really tested my brain skills because I'm not really mathematically inclined, and it seemed like there was some sort of like mathematics involved in this whole thing. Trying to figure out how to, oopsie, there we go, how to flip it over and have the photographs be the way that I wanted them to look. So I can't remember when I created these, maybe halfway through the year. I'm kind of wondering if I might have some ADHD because I'm always working on more than one project at a time. And then also I started collecting garment tags throughout the year, and then so that is another sort of ongoing project of just doing little bits of collage on these garment tags with lots of fussy cut things. I probably will include these in some of the junk journals I make. I have a very extensive collection of black and white illustrations, so I've started using those in some of the tags that I've been creating. And because the illustrations are pretty detailed and quite fun. I think I did. Yeah, I included a little person on the back from the same illustration. So these have been kind of fun to do. Not really labor intensive or requiring a lot of brain ability. So I usually just try and putter around in the evening while I'm watching TV and do something productive while I'm viewing. So these are fun. I've enjoyed making these. I have a whole box full of blank tags to continue decorating. So So that was another sort of ongoing project. And then years ago, my daughter gave me these cardboard sushi. I think you put your soy sauce in them at the sushi restaurant. And she said, I know you could do something with them. So I finally got around to covering them with, decoupaging them with napkins. And then I mounted them to foam core board, so it's some stability. And then when this is on my desk, and I put like jump rings and buttons and little scraps, and so everything is sort of ready there for me to draw to when I need to make my tags. So that's another project that I worked on. I had this box that I picked up for like $2.99 at a garage sale or a thrift. Oh, it was at a thrift store, Goodwill. Picked it up for $2.99 and hung on to it for a while. And so I call it my favorite things. I lined the inside. It came divided by like this. It was, I think, a humidor. So for cigars, there was a piece of wood in here that had a round circular thing. I removed that. And then I just made these trays and inserts to go inside it and, store my favorite things. So, which I haven't actually filled it with my favorite things yet, but I will. That'll be a 2026 project. I'm undecided about whether or not I should decorate the outside. So I usually, when I get things like this, I just sit with them for a while. So there's that. I'm just going to put this over here. And then the other box that I made was this, sorry, I'm going to move the camera a little bit, so forgive me for doing this, but I had this old silverware box that I picked up many, many years ago with the idea that I would do something with it. Didn't know what. And about 10 years ago, the kids and I went on a family vacation with 3 other families. We drove down to the Utah, Arizona area and went to a bunch of national parks and stuff. So I had made a journal that was quite substantial when I was into my art journaling days. So this is pretty big and chunky, and I need to continue writing in it. And then, so what I did was I just decorated this top part, which would have had silverware. I gutted it. I lined it with maps from the area. And then the drawer has small boxes inserted. So there's like specimens of bark and sand and stuff. And then postcards in the center. There's a couple feathers we discovered. So it's just sort of a box to collect the ephemera from the trip. So I feel pretty pleased that I finally got the box figured out and used. And yeah, so I might continue to decorate this when I find more things from Utah and Arizona. These are vintage postcards from my collection. So this will be an ongoing project that I will one day complete. And then there are my journals. So I finally, let's see, gosh, it's been almost 20 years ago now. I was hospitalized for a spider bite, and I had collected all the stuff from that stay in the hospital. And so I just quickly, I had started this, didn't like the way it looked, so I totally deconstructed it and started it again. So I have to go back and write about it, but I saved these morbid blood things and, and then a collection of cards that I received. And so this is just a quick little experience from 10 years ago, body and mind. A few years back, I went on a cruise to Alaska with some friends and had not done anything with the ephemera from the cruise that I collected. So I finally found this book online, Alaska. And so this is another one of those ongoing projects that I started this year. And the goal would be to finally complete it this year. So this was a book that I found. I kind of get an idea of what I want, and then I go searching for a book, and I bought this off of eBay because I like the cover, excuse me, and the illustrations. And so I've used maps from the trip. And so again, I have a diary about what we did and where we went and who I roomed with. And I will take some time this year to actually write about that experience, because that was a really great trip. So that's another project that I worked on this past year. Then there's this little tiny journal that I haven't really started doing too much in. I put a pocket in the front and the first page, but this is all like, it's a new type of binding that I was working with. I used medical paper tape to tape it all together. And this will probably just be a little place to put tiny little things that I like this, I think, is from a tea bag. Every promise is a present in advance. I have done some work in it, but not a lot. So this is another kind of like just small collaging kind of thing. So, but it was kind of fun to figure out how to put it together and bind it, and how to keep it being from kind of flimsy. I had this old little black cover. I think it's an old Bible, but I'd had the cover for quite some time and just didn't have the heart to throw it away because it's got some really nice embossing in the leather. So that was one project. Oh, sorry, I have a runny nose. I'm struggling with the weather in Seattle this year. It's so damp. Okay, so this is my, this is the personal junk journal. And, you know, my junk journals are kind of an odd mix. I sometimes write in them. I sometimes don't. They're basically really just a collection of things that I like, that speak to me. So, I loved the cover of this. It was so beautiful. And decided to keep it. So I just, I made a bunch of these tags inspired by another content creator. This is just an old receipt that I've decoupaged a napkin on. I play around with a bunch of stuff. This is the front page from the book, which I've decorated into a journaling card. This is actually a printout from a friend of mine who's a painter. She gave me her unsuccessful prints and said, do what you want with them, make them into cards, whatever. So I've done that. And then I just kind of, add to, I have no chronological order to my journals. I just keep something and then I look through all of my journals and find a place to put it. I have journals from last year that I've been adding to in 2025. So I have a really weird way of journaling. That's why I think I like to do journal cards, because I can write specifically on the back of the card and then just slip it into my journal. I don't know if anybody else works that way. I'd be interested to hear how you guys all approach journaling. That's my beautiful daughter. I love her so much. So yeah, this is kind of the way that I approach it. Sometimes I do write on a page, but so this is, of course, not complete for this year because I have other journals that I have been adding to and writing to. So this is one of them. This is another one that I have been working on. Had this cover forever, and I really admire the indigenous people and the struggles that they have. I have since I was a kid. I think the very first political book I read when I was a child, like probably 14 or 12 or 13, was Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. So again, I had been collecting ephemera about the West and American Indians and photographs, and so this has become my repository, and it's not complete. It's an ongoing project, but this is something that I started this year, and I will continue to work on it for probably many years. And yeah, when I'm looking through an old vintage book and I find something that fits, I just slip it in and then work on it. So, yep. I will do an actual flip through of this at a later date. This is just kind of when you think you're not being creative, you are being creative. You just don't realize it. So this is another one this is another one that was for the year. And I loved the illustration. This I got out of a free library on the way to work one day. I was walking and I found it and I was like, oh, I'm going to snag this. So there we go. So again, I have written, this is one of those journals where I do write about things that are happening, save little bits of ephemera from my life. This is another personal. So look at these illustrations. Aren't they beautiful? I just put some to flip up, flip out. This is another thing I'd had for a very long time, and this finally fit in this journal. I have a box full of stuff that I have collected over the years with the hope that someday they would find a home. And I'll do a flip through of this also, but this is just a quick little, I guess I'm just trying to encourage people to be gentle with yourself, especially given the politics of the time. Because when we are struggling with creativity and we think we're not being successful, I think if you were to evaluate all the things that you'd worked on throughout the year, you would find that you did have a productive year. So these are my personal projects. This does not include all of the journaling tags that I've made, the junk journals that I have made for resale, which are in my shop. I've sold quite a bit this year. I seem to find people that really love my style and they come back and shop again, which I love. So this will be, I think I'm been collecting a bunch of stuff to put in this. This will be my first journal for 2026, I think, to fill, because it's empty. But I was actually very surprised to find that I was exceptionally creative this year, because I've been struggling with my mental health. Not like I've just been consumed by sadness with the state of the nation and the world, and wondering why we as human beings can't be kinder to one another. And so I've not been very social this year. I've been staying at home quite a bit, and apparently I've been quite busy. So I'm a little disappointed that I didn't finish my 365 days of the year collaging. I will continue making those, but I won't be putting such a strict timeline on myself. I might finally get to 365, but I'm not going to give myself a time frame. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you what I've been up to this year, and I'd love to see what everybody else has been doing for the whole year, because I think when you really start to look at what you've done, you will find that you have been very creative, especially if you factor in maybe gifts that you'd made for family, whether it's knitting or crocheting or quilting. So here's to another creative year in 2026, and I just want to wish everybody Happy New Year and send you lots of love. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and have a great New Year's Eve. Bye.